The movie begins on the dark streets of Miami, where something illegal is about to happen. One by one, street signs suddenly start disappearing from the roads. At first, it looks random, but then we realize this entire city block is secretly being transformed into an underground racing arena. Hundreds of people gather under neon lights while modified cars roar like monsters in the night. The atmosphere feels electric. Everyone is waiting for one thing, a race where a single mistake can mean death. And then, a mysterious racer gets a phone call. Inside a small houseboat, a man quickly grabs his keys and rushes outside. Moments later, a silver Nissan Skyline explodes onto the streets of Miami at insane speed. Cars blur past him as he races toward the underground event. That man is Brian O'Connor. But Brian is no ordinary street racer. 2 years ago, he was a cop until he made one decision that destroyed his career forever. Tonight, he's about to enter a race that will pull him into something far more dangerous than speeding cars. As Brian arrives at the race location, the crowd instantly reacts. People whisper his name with respect because everyone knows this guy is different. The other racers immediately realize they're in trouble. 3 racers are already waiting at the starting line. Slapjack, a fearless, aggressive driver. Suki, an incredibly skilled racer with crazy confidence. And Orange Julius, a loudmouth racer who thinks he owns the streets. But the moment Brian pulls up beside them, the mood changes completely. Even before the race starts, tension fills the air. Money gets placed on the line, thousands of dollars. Pride, reputation, everything. Then suddenly, the countdown begins. Brian closes his eyes for a second, not of fear, but concentration. He visualizes every turn, every movement, every gear shift in his head like a machine calculating survival. And then, the race starts. The streets explode into chaos as all 4 cars launch forward like rockets. Tires scream against the asphalt, while crowds cheer from both sides of the road. At first, Slapjack takes the lead. His driving is aggressive and dangerous. Brian tries to overtake him multiple times, but Slapjack blocks every move perfectly. Meanwhile, Suki and Orange Julius stay close behind, refusing to give up an inch. The race becomes more intense with every corner. Cars drift inches away from walls, sparks fly, engines scream so loudly it feels like the entire city is shaking. And then, things become even crazier. Without warning, a massive bridge ahead of them suddenly starts lifting into the air, creating a giant jump in the middle of the race. The crowd loses their minds. But for the racers, this isn't entertainment anymore. One wrong move here means instant death. Brian sees the bridge rising and realizes he only has seconds to decide. Slow down and lose the race, or go all in and risk everything. He presses the nitrous button. Suddenly, his Skyline shoots forward with terrifying speed. The engine roars like a fighter jet as Brian launches the car straight toward the raised bridge. And then, the car flies through the air. For one terrifying moment, it feels like Brian might not survive the landing, but somehow the Skyline crashes back onto the road perfectly. Behind him, Slapjack attempts the same jump, but lands horribly. His tires explode instantly, oil spills everywhere, and his car smashes violently into a wall. The race is over. Brian wins. The crowd erupts with excitement. People surround him like he's some kind of legend. But while everyone celebrates, Brian notices something strange. A mysterious woman in the crowd has been watching him the entire time. And before he can even speak to her, she disappears. But Brian doesn't know this woman is secretly connected to something much bigger, because only seconds later, the entire street suddenly gets surrounded by black government vehicles. Federal agents. Everyone panics instantly. Cars scatter in every direction while racers desperately try to escape. Brian jumps back into his Skyline and speeds away through the streets of Miami. A dangerous chase begins. Federal agents hunt Brian through narrow alleys while helicopters and black sedans close in around him. For a moment, it actually looks like he might escape. But then, one agent pulls out a strange device that looks almost like a rocket launcher. Brian's face changes immediately. The device fires directly onto his car, sending an electrical shock through the Skyline. Suddenly, every system dies. The engine shuts down. The steering locks. Brian loses control completely and crashes hard into a building. This time, there's no escape. Moments later, armed agents drag Brian into custody. Inside an FBI office, Brian learns the truth. The government has been hunting him for months. They know everything about his past, including the fact that he once let a criminal escape because of loyalty. Now, the FBI wants something from him. A powerful drug trafficker named Carter Verone. Verone is one of the most dangerous criminals in Miami. He moves millions of dollars for drug cartels and never leaves evidence behind. The FBI have tried for years to catch him, but failed every single time. Now they believe Verone is searching for elite street racers to transport his dirty money, and the FBI wants Brian to go undercover again. At first, Brian refuses completely. He doesn't trust them anymore. But then the agents remind him of one thing. If he says no, he goes to prison. Brian realizes he has no choice, but he makes one demand. He wants his own partner, and that partner is someone from his past, Roman Pearce. The story then shifts to a brutal demolition derby arena in the middle of nowhere. Huge metal cars crash into each other while crowds scream with excitement. Inside the chaos, one black Monte Carlo dominates everyone. The driver behind the wheel is Roman Pearce. Roman drives like a madman. Even with an ankle monitor attached to his leg, he destroys every opponent in front of him with unbelievable skill. Cars flip over, metal tears apart, people run for safety, and Roman enjoys every second of it. But beneath all the confidence and swagger, Roman carries deep anger inside, especially toward Brian, because years ago, Brian's actions sent Roman to prison. When Brian finally approaches him after the derby, his expression turns cold immediately. The friendship between them is clearly broken. Roman doesn't care about Brian's explanations, he only remembers the betrayal. But once he learns that helping the FBI could erase his criminal record and remove his ankle monitor, he reluctantly agrees. Even then, the tension between them never disappears. Soon, Brian and Roman arrive in Miami together and begin preparing for their undercover mission. To get close to Verone, they must first prove themselves in another dangerous street race. This race is even more insane than the first one. Hundreds of racers gather across Miami while police helicopters search from above. The streets become pure chaos as modified cars blast through traffic at unbelievable speed. Brian and Roman work together perfectly despite their personal hatred. Slowly, they begin rebuilding the trust they lost years ago, and eventually, they win. This victory finally gets Verone's attention. Soon after, Brian and Roman meet him face to face for the first time. Verone appears calm and professional on the outside, but there's something terrifying about him. The way he talks, the way he watches people, it feels like he's always one step ahead. And standing beside Verone is the same mysterious woman Brian noticed earlier during the race. Her name is Monica. Officially, she works for Verone. Secretly, she's the FBI's undercover agent. But Monica reveals something horrifying. Verone already suspects there's an informant close to him. If he discovers her identity, she's dead. Now, the mission becomes far more dangerous. Brian and Roman officially start working for Verone, transporting packages and proving their loyalty. But the deeper they enter his world, the more terrifying things become. Verone isn't just a criminal, he's cruel. At one point, he brutally tortures a detective in front of everyone just to send a message. The scene shocks Brian deeply, because now he realizes this mission could easily get them all killed. And things get even worse when Verone starts testing Brian and Roman constantly. He watches every movement, every conversation, every mistake. One wrong step and their cover is finished. Despite everything, Brian and Roman continue moving deeper into Verone's operation until finally the biggest mission arrives. Verone orders them to transport millions of dollars across Miami. This is the FBI's chance to finally catch him. But there's one problem. Verone never planned to let Brian and Roman survive. Secretly, he hires killers to murder them immediately after the money drop is completed. Monica discovers the truth and desperately warns Brian. Now, everything changes. The final mission begins with extreme tension. Brian and Roman drive at insane speed through Miami while helicopters.
Police units prepare to capture Verone. But Verone suddenly changes the plan at the last second. He escapes onto a private yacht with Monica as a hostage. Now Brian faces an impossible decision: capture Verone or save Monica. Without hesitation, Brian chooses Monica. What follows next becomes one of the craziest action sequences in the entire movie. Roman continues driving to distract the police, while Brian launches his car directly toward the yacht. The car literally flies through the air before crashing onto the moving boat. The impact is massive. Brian fights Verone in a brutal hand-to-hand battle, while Monica struggles to survive beside them. Every second feels dangerous, because one wrong move could send them all crashing into the ocean. Finally, after an intense fight, Brian defeats Verone. The criminal who controlled Miami for so long is finally captured. And for the first time in years, Brian and Roman are free. Their criminal records are cleared, their friendship is repaired, and together they walk away from the mission as brothers once again. But even after everything they survived, one thing still remains the same: their love for speed, their love for racing, and deep down, they both know this is only the beginning. Because in their world, life always moves 1/4 mile at a time.
Thanks for watching, and for more videos, like, subscribe our channel, also give comments.